Famous people who passed away in 1749. Before we proceed, please subscribe to our channel to support us. Philip Livingston. He was born in July 1686 and he died in February 1749. His age was 62 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an American merchant, slave trader, and politician in colonial New York, the son of Robert Livingston and the elder brother of Robert of Clermont. Philip was the second son of Lord Livingston Manor, a prominent American instrumental in early colonial governance and trade. Early in his career, Philip Livingston surveyed land titles. In late 1719, he was licensed to practice law. In 1720, Philip was appointed one of the commissioners of Indian Affairs. The same year, Robert Livingston resigned the position of Secretary for the Commission of Indian Affairs and Town Clerk of Albany in favor of Philip. The appointment was confirmed by Governor Burnet. George Carpenter, 2nd Baron Carpenter. He was born in 1695 and he died in August 1749. His age was 54 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English landowner and member of Parliament at different periods between 1717 and 1747. Carpenter held a number of commissions in his father's regiment, the 3rd, the King's Own Hussars, including lieutenant in 1708 when he was 13 and captain in 1712, but does not appear to have served. In August 1715, he was made captain in the 1st Foot Guards, then lieutenant colonel in the Life Guards in January 1730. Again, this did not require active service, although Guards regiments theoretically contained up to 24 companies. Actual numbers were far lower and commissions often nominal. Ambrose Phillips. He was born in 1674 and he died in June 1749. His age was 75 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was an English poet and politician. He feuded with other poets of his time, resulting in Henry Carey bestowing the nickname Namby-Pamby upon him, which came to mean affected, weak, and maudlin speech or verse. He was celebrated for his pastoral poetry and contributions to English literature. Phillips was a staunch Whig and a friend of Richard Steele and Joseph Addison. In numbers 22, 23, 30, and 32, 1713 of The Guardian, he was rashly praised as the only worthy successor of Edmund Spenser. William Jones. He was born in 1675 and he died in July 1749. His age was 74 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Welsh mathematician best known for his use of the symbol pi to represent the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter. He was a close friend of Sir Isaac Newton and Sir Edmund Halley. In November 1711, Jones became a Fellow of the Royal Society and later served as the Royal Society's Vice President. Jones initially served at sea, teaching mathematics on board Navy ships between 1695 and 1702, where he became very interested in navigation and published a new compendium of the whole art of navigation in 1702, dedicated to a benefactor, John Harris. In his work, he applied mathematics to navigation, studying methods of calculating position at sea after his voyage. Moreover, he became a mathematics teacher in London. Katherine Troger Cockburn. She was born in August 1679 and she died in May 1749. Her age was 69 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was an English novelist, dramatist, and philosopher who wrote on various subjects including moral philosophy and theology, and maintained a prolific correspondence. Totter's writings encompass a wide range of topics such as necessity, the infinitude of space and substance. However, her primary focus was on moral issues. She believed that moral principles were not inherent but could be discovered by each individual through the use of reason, a faculty bestowed by God. In 1702, she published her first significant philosophical work titled A Defense of Mr. Locke's, an essay concerning human understanding. Charles de la Borche, Baki de Beauharnois. He was born in October 1671 and he died in July 1749. His age was 77 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French naval officer and colonial administrator known for strengthening New France, Canada during the tenure as governor. Charles had two brothers who also impacted the history of New France. One was a French naval officer who spent time commanding ships that maintained supply lines to the colony, and the other was intendant of New France for a time. Despite a generally peaceful and prosperous administration, he was blamed for fall of the fortress of Louisbourg in 1745 and was recalled in 1746, returning to France the following year. Wilhelm Derner. He was born in November 1685 and he died in April 1749. His age was 63 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a German painter, highly regarded as portraitist. He painted mostly half-length and head and shoulders portraits and a few group portraits of families in interiors. Usually Derner concentrated on face, cloth, and paraphernalia were done by other painters or later his daughter. His chief peculiarity consisted in the fitness of his mechanical finish, which extended to depicting even almost invisible furs of hair growing on smooth skin. He is particularly noted for his heads of old men and women. He began his career as a painter of miniatures. In 1709, he painted the 9-year-old Charles Frederick, Duke of Holstein, Gottorp, and his sisters in miniatures. Pierre Sauss. He was born in November 1699 and he died in May 1749. His age was 49 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a French painter active during the late Baroque and early neoclassical period, mainly in Italy. A French painter whose works, blending classical and Baroque styles, earned him acclaim in Rome and beyond. He was a remarkably incisive portraitist, as evident from the portrait of Pope Benedict XIV or of the obese Cardinal Valentine Gonzaga. The Pope himself commanded two great paintings, the Marriage of Saint Catherine and the Ecstasy of Saint Camilla, which he placed in his own private apartments. Another portrait was of cleric and artist Giovanni Felice Ramelli, which Ramelli then replicated in miniature. Françoise Marie de Bourbon. She was born in May 1677 and she died in February 1749. Her age was 71 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was the youngest illegitimate daughter of King Louis XIV of France and his mistress. At the age of 14, she married her first cousin, the future regent of France during the minority of Louis XV. Through 2 of her 8 children, she became the ancestress of several of Europe's Roman Catholic monarchs of the 19th and 20th century, notably those of Belgium, Italy, Portugal, Spain, and France. She wielded little political influence. In 1718, she participated in the botched Salamara conspiracy, during which the conspirators orchestrated to oust her husband as regent in favor of her brother, Louis Auguste, Duke of Maine. Ingeborg Majorgård. She was born in 1665 and she died in July 1749. Her age was 84 at the time of her death, and the reason for her death was undisclosed. She was a Swedish natural healer, natural philosopher, soothsayer, and spiritual visionary, a Swedish folk healer and herbalist who became a legendary figure in her community for her remedies and care. She belonged to the peasantry of the parish of Weierstadt in Kronoberg County in Summerland. She was born to the farmer Daniel I. Uthofdam and married the farmer Måns Gudmundsson, with whom she had 4 children. By marriage, she was customarily called I. Majorholt, which referred to the farm of her spouse. Johan Elias Schlegel. He was born in January 1719 and he died in August 1749. His age was 30 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a German critic and dramatic poet, a German dramatist and literary critic celebrated for his plays and contributions to early German literary theory. In 1748, he was made professor of extraordinary at the Academy of Saar, where he died on August 13, 1749. Schlegel was a contributor to the Bremer Beitrage and, for some time, while he was living in Denmark, edited a weekly periodical, Der Fremde, with his dramas, as well as with his critical writings. He did much to prepare the way for Lessing, by whom his genius was warmly appreciated. Matias Bell. He was born in March 1648 and he died in August 1749. His age was 65 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Lutheran pastor and polymath from the Kingdom of Hungary. Bell was active in the fields of pedagogy, philosophy, philology, history, and theoretical theology. He was the founder of Hungarian geographic science and a pioneer of descriptive ethnography and economy, a leading figure in pietism. He is also known as the Great Ornament of Hungary. Bell spoke Slovak, Hungarian, and German, and his works had been published mostly in Latin, which were steeped in the Hungarian national consciousness, as had been manifested, for instance, in his writing, the Notitia Hungariae Novae Historico-Geographica, which is an extolment of the Hungarian history. Jan van Heisel. He was born in April 1682 and he died in February 1749. His age was 66 at the time of his death, and the reason for his death was undisclosed. He was a Dutch painter, famed for his masterful and vibrant still-life paintings, particularly of flowers. He is most notable member of the Van Heisel family of artists working in Dutch Golden Age of the 17th and 18th centuries. By common consent, Jan van Heisel has been held to be the best painter of flowers. Trained in decoration from a young age, he gradually developed an execution of details of the utmost beauty and finish, creating wonderful flower pieces whereon drops of water and crawling ants could be seen without a magnifying glass. Van was somewhat secretive about his process and worked separately from the rest of his family. Thanks for watching the video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel.